A pleasant afternoon to you out there. The program is Nigeria Now, where we look at everything that concerns Nigeria, whether it is politics, economy, security, education, just name it, however it is, and that we will discuss on the program. I am Sana Elisha Dasham. I'll be doing the program with Rachel Tansey. Good afternoon.
Afternoon,
Rachel.
sir.
All right. To our viewers, remember you can be part of the conversation by joining us live on Facebook and on YouTube, and then you can also drop your own contribution or your views on any of the matters we will be discussing this afternoon. And we'd like to take a look at what the president have said in a spirit where we have been talking about harmony in the three arms of government, and then making sure that every of these arm of government also function independently in as much as they are working in harmony. And we're seeing that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu have said he will be working with the National Assembly to fix the economy of Nigeria. And he made this known yesterday where we had the Senate President in a seminar, still in the spirit of celebrating his 61st birthday that took place last weekend. I know, Rachel, we've been talking about this issue of where we'll see the legislature not being a rubber stamp because, they have come under attack several times from Nigerians on the fact that, the legislative are not doing anything much. They are more like a rubber stamp where they just sit down. And then a lot of people are like, have you ever seen the reps or the speaker, or you've ever seen Akpabio saying when the president said, Akpabio, do this, and then he said, yes, sir. We've never seen that. But then over the period of time they have been on seat, a lot of people have actually, questioned the integrity of the legislature in the way they pass certain bills, and then making sure that they have Nigerians in mind. And we're seeing the president is saying he will be working with his two, talking about the joint house, the legislative, and the Senate to make sure that, there is a need to fix the economy. A lot of things needs fixing in this country, Rachel. You agree with me? Yeah. And then when I heard that statement coming from the president, of course, it calls for celebration. But beyond the words, we want to see the work being put to work, because eventually in all of this thing, we are hoping to see a house that will stand for what is right for Nigeria. We're looking forward to seeing our economy fixing. We're looking forward to seeing more multinational companies coming to partner with us. We're working to see that even small and medium enterprises in the country are not suffering because of certain policies. We're looking forward to seeing so many things, When you talk about the economy, it's a big picture. We're looking forward to seeing, let us see these two arms of government, the executive and the legislature, putting their heads together to pass bills and also make bills that will make Nigeria grow eventually.
Sally, I just have a humorous side to this statement from the president, that he had to make this statement after he passed a policy of fuel subsidy removal. And you just wonder, what were you thinking, not knowing that you're supposed to work with the National Assembly when it comes to such policies? Why? Because I believe that by now the president has learned a lesson. He would not repeat that in his next June 12th speech. Eventually, he wouldn't just pass certain things, or there won't be any inauguration till 4 years from now if he eventually wins. But I believe that perhaps in his next speech, whatever crucial speech that Nigerians are waiting for him, he wouldn't make a mistake of passing a policy through that. Why am I saying so? Fuel subsidy removal is one of those policies that should have gone through the National Assembly. Because when you say you are going to work with your 10th National Assembly to fix the economy of Nigeria, subsidy removal is one of those that could have gone through, sittings by the National Assembly and agreeing and passing modalities for it. Because the things about bills and policies is that they have process, and then it becomes everybody's responsibility when it comes to implementation. There is a guideline and then a procedure. And yes, the statement is on point. Who else will you work with rather than your National Assembly, rather than your lawmakers, to be able to grow the economy of the country. So now there's a lot of things that need to be put first in place. I believe is no repetition of past mistakes, and by past mistake I'm putting implementation before these policies or bills that will be passed eventually in the Senate and by our lawmakers. Because over the years, I believe that number one issue we've had is implementation. A lot of policies look very good and are in fact good, but we've always had the issue of implementation. And same will be for Naira redesign. We can see that okay, there are presidential executive orders that can bypass the National Assembly when it's executive, and that is what we saw in the case of the past administration when we saw the new Naira design. However, implementation was a problem, and I do believe that when it comes to very key and crucial economic decisions, it shouldn't be made executive, regardless of how good it is. It should go through the National Assembly, because we are having many heads than just two deciding, and then the output is better. And in the end, when it flops, it's not one person
that will actually
because
suffer
it now
from
becomes the responsibility of over 300 lawmakers or over hundreds of lawmakers that have voted aye to that motion and all of that. And that's where I'm hoping that we will see a different approach to policies, because when you talk about fixing the economy with the National Assembly, it's all about passing bills and policies that will eventually pass to laws that will eventually be given as order to be carried out in the country. And implementation for me is number one, because that is the gap we have seen. So many beautiful policies being agreed upon, and yet they turn out to be a flop. Even our Naira redesign, as evasive as it might look like when it was, because it was to a lot of extent, it was uncomfortable for Nigerians, and it had a meaningful reason. It in fact, what it was designed for was perfect. But as it is now, it turned out that everything it was meant for was defeated. Nothing was achieved. Nothing is so far achieved concerning the new Naira note design. And then we are now seeing fuel subsidy removal coming from the president. And let's see better implementation. Secondly, and key economic decision shouldn't be passed as executive orders. I want to see a lot of economic policies and decisions and new rules and mandates to be passed through the National Assembly. We saw recently where the president ordered the removing of some duties, excise duties on goods and all of that, and lawmakers are already complaining, saying this is going to affect the economy. We have directors at this office is saying, okay, we have been doing this, and if you are removing over 220 businesses or goods from paying, I mean, there's a lot. So I just truly hope that I will see the president really working with the lawmakers of this country, because we are at the crucial position that if we are going to depend on executive orders to do certain things, I mean, we're not going to make headway selling.
Well, just like we said, I mean, it's working together with them, even though that you made mention of the fact that there are certain things that you could actually, bypass the legislature, but that doesn't mean they wouldn't be in the picture, because believe you me, it is their responsibility to make sure that, you know what, for every bill that we're going to be passed, for every policy that will be there, because eventually you're governing people. So you have to make sure that you are people-centered in everything that you do. And then when we're talking about fixing the economy, just like I said, it's a big word for me, because when you want to fix the economy, there are a lot of things that you need to look into. We cannot overemphasize the importance of checking security, checking of power, because if you're fixing the economy, there are a lot of things. How about the oil theft? How about the back and forth World Bank is having with NNPCL?
Yes.
Quite a number of things. If you really want to fix the economy, you should look into that. Now, mentioning the World Bank and the NNPC, we see here that the NLC, that's talking about the Nigerian Labour Congress, have actually told the federal government to reject the proposal coming from the World Bank. Now, we will recall yesterday or so, or even before yesterday, we saw where the World Bank is saying that the government should make the fuel pump price should be 750 naira. Now, this came when we saw marketers saying the fact that, you know what, ideally, petrol is supposed to be 1,000 naira per liter. If the government is still not paying subsidy somehow, because it is not realistic looking at the cost price we're actually buying this petrol and then how much we're selling to consumers, then there is a breach somewhere. So it's either the federal government is not being transparent to Nigerians on what is happening, because if you say you are removing the fuel subsidy totally, then according to World Bank, it is only realistic that you sell the petrol at 750. That is if you are not paying it. But here we are saying, markets are saying that you should sell it at 1,000. And here NLC is coming from another point of view, saying that, you know what, I mean, what World Bank is saying is not right. I mean, already as it is at 620, 650, depending on where you're buying it from, Nigerians are already suffering. So why should you receive, or because they make mention of the fact that over the years, World Bank have always been kind of biased in some of the things they actually advices that they're giving Nigeria, even though I have a different point of view about that. But then, you know, it's not about my point of view here, it's about what is good for Nigeria eventually. So my concern right now is the government, even though the federal government have actually come out to debunk that. They said, you know what, fuel subsidy is gone and it's gone for good. But then how do we then balance this cost price in the market? Here, marketers are telling us, you know what, the price we're selling it is not realistic, because if we're selling it that way, we are running on a loss. Here the federal government is saying this is the price. Here's what World Bank is saying, sell it at this price if you say you've removed it. So we're having three different points of view in this whole thing, and we need to come to an understanding, a balance in all of this, so that people do not go with the mindset that, you know what, it's either the government is indirectly lying to us about what is really happening in the country.
I mean, Sele, World Bank is entitled to their opinion. It's important because they loan us a lot of money, so it might sound like we should listen to them. However, they can't decide what a government should do. Yes, you can decide whether you give us loan when we come to you, but I mean, our fuel pump price, you still can't decide that for us. And I believe they have enough intelligence to know what they're saying. But you see, World Bank is speculating also, because until they give us an exact figure and they give us numbers, they give us chart to say, okay, this is what NNPCL is buying the fuel, petrol, PMS, and this is how much they are giving to marketers, and this is what marketers, until we have this kind of numbers, we still can't just ultimately work with what the World Bank is saying. Secondly, I believe that, I mean, marketers, Sele, are not running at a loss. They are not just making enough profit that they feel they should from oil, because if they were, they would stop selling. You can't buy at 600 and sell at 550. You understand? There is profit. It's just that we've lived in a country that is exploitative by nature. You saw an example of that, where immediately they've said there's subsidy removal. They locked your fuel station, they stopped supplying petroleum and waiting to hear and just hike the price. That is the country we are living. So are marketers selling at a loss? No, they're not. What they are not getting is the is the profit or the interest that they feel they're supposed to be making from it. Now we can go on and say, okay, yes, perhaps the federal government is still paying subsidy, but you know what, there's nothing that is transparent in Nigeria, and so is the petroleum sector. Nothing, Sele, even from the smallest medium scale business. Go to a businesswoman now in the market and say, ma, how much do you make in a month from this tomato you're selling? Nobody wants to tell you their income. Nobody wants to tell you, okay, I bought this from the farmer at 200 naira and I'm selling it at 250. We are not transparent by nature. That is our mindset. Even from the grassroots level. Yes, you go to government parastatals, you're supposed to know grade level exactly what this grade earns, and that we don't have that in our military, in NGOs, in everywhere. We are not transparent by nature. We hide a lot of things, and the NNPCL is not an exception to this. And that is why we can't. What was the subsidy first to the petroleum? We don't know that. we haven't had figures yet concerning how much was the exact subsidy, and now that it's being removed, how much are we getting this fuel, and then what is expected to be the fuel pump price. Now, if you look at the increase of fuel pump price when it was removed, we saw over 300% increase. And then now that means, are we trying to say that in the past subsidy was over 300% on the actual price? Because yes, because we saw that it has been removed gradually. It has always been partial subsidy. It's not complete. So what is it? We are yet to have exact figures when it comes to petroleum in this country and dealing. And that's why I was hoping, rather than the marketers just saying this, that, let's see numbers, let's see figures that we can actually work with. If not, it leaves everybody in the position exactly of speculating. And that is why, of course, I agree with NLC. Whatever the government is doing, we don't know whether they're paying subsidy or not. However, if the government of Nigeria is telling us they are not, then they are not. We leave it at that. But then we are at 620 to 650, in some places 670, and we have businesses packing up. And every time we look at why are these businesses going on, is the economic, diesel, petrol, and all of that. And imagine if at 600 plus getting to 700, we have even big businesses closing down. If we go to 750, what will we be? But however, we will get to 750 eventually. But I mean, I think it's just at a slow rate. But we are having marketers wanting it already there. We're having World Bank wanting it already there, and all of that. But we will eventually get there, because until we stop importing and we're solely producing, refining the oil we consume in the country, it's still going to be imported into the country, and we're going to keep seeing the increase in the fuel pump price.
You know what, Rachel? Do you know what I was expecting NLC to say? Rather than coming after World Bank, or what they're speculating is to come after the federal government. Why are they yet to fix the refineries? Because believe me, just like you said, the World Bank is entitled. They have the figures, they have the intelligence, so they actually know. No wonder we're seeing the president is even coming under criticism on the fact that why is still the Minister of Petroleum? I mean, not only did we have Falana complaining, but we also had the former CBN governor saying the same thing. We should have a ministry, the Ministry of Petroleum, so we'll be able to checkmate everything that goes on in that ministry. It should be accountable. So who is auditing that department is a question. Who is auditing that ministry is a question. Yes, we have the state minister, but then believe you me, that minister does not know much. There are answers that Nigerians, believe you me, want to ask. And just like you said, right, we are looking forward to in Nigeria where we'll have a government that is transparent. Saying, you know what, as marketers, I mean, there was a time marketers intended to tell us the price. I think at a time like this, it was on the papers. They're like, we're buying it at this price. I remember clearly when we had Silver telling us then that if they remove the first subsidy, we should be buying it at 500 naira. So I wonder why it got over 500 naira. So just like you're saying, eventually, whether we accept the advice coming from World Bank or not, with the way things are moving, if our federal government does not check to make sure that, you know what, let us block all the leakages when it comes to oil theft, when it comes to how much barrel of oil we are producing daily, because there was a time where custom and NNPCL were having conflict. I mean, nobody wants to tell us exactly what we're making, and we're complaining that we can't meet our quota with OPEC. So somehow it feels as if we are the ones actually dealing with ourselves the way things are. So I'm hoping, just like we said, we'll have a government that will be transparent to tell us, you know what, this is what is actually happening. And then this is how Nigeria, I think with that, Nigerians will be able to see more. I mean, World Bank gave money for palliative, and it has not gotten to everybody. So you ask question, what is going on? So I'm hoping that we'll see better measures coming from our government. Now, to round up the show, we've been seeing ministries, agency complaining about their budget. I mean, because it has been a time ever since the presentation of the budget, we've been seeing different ministry and agencies being called to come defend their budget and say, why did you make such an amount? Why are you making these and all of that? And we're seeing that INEC is complaining. then I mean, you know what, the allocation given to us
It's
is not
small,
enough. In
yeah.
fact, as it is presently, even the money we requested for Imo, Edo, Imo, Bayelsa, and,
Yeah, and Kogi.
and Kogi, about 18 million naira, 18 billion naira rather. We've not seen the money yet, and that was captured in the supplementary budget. And right now, the government is giving us another money that will not be enough for us to run the election for next year. Because next year we're looking at elections at Edo, we're looking at election at Ondo State, and I mean, according to the speculation coming from INEC, maybe it's just a gap of 1 month. So one will be holding in September, another will be holding in November. Now the question is, INEC is complaining that the money given to them to run their whatever, the cost of everything they need to do there is not enough. Now the question is, every department is complaining. So my question now is, which ministry actually got the right allocation that is needed? Because education is complaining, and of course a lot of people agree that, you know what, education is underfunded, they should do something. Health as well. But we're seeing other ministries spending over 1 billion naira for travels, and you wonder, I mean, what is really going on? So
Yes.
Rachel, I just want to have your own take on what INEC is saying about
For
this
me,
money.
Sele, what I like about INEC is the fact that they are very unrealistic with their numbers, and then they're not consistent with their ratio. For example, when we look at the 2023 budget, INEC gave for the election was 305 billion naira, and then later on they brought 50 for their annual budget also, and then it turned out to be a total of 355. And in this, okay, they captured off-season election for what we're talking about, Imo, Kogi, and Bayelsa, to be 2.6 billion. And then now we are seeing that they're saying they're waiting for 18 billion to come for them for this election, right? And then you begin to wonder, why are we having these kind of discrepancies, like when it comes to the numbers and how much you're spending for state election? And then it begins to look like running election for states is even more expensive than a general
Election.
2000, yes, exactly, poll for a whole country presidential, where the output is more, where the ballot papers you keep putting in your budget, printing ballot papers, this, and that. And then you keep seeing that it is high. And then when you have 50, for example, 50 billion for 2023 budget, and then now you are coming to 2024 where you have no election, you just have Edo and Ondo State, and then you're asking for 89 billion, and then you wonder, okay, how is it in 2023 it was 50?
Is the population different?
Exactly. Let's believe with exactly is there, and it's just 2 states. And then if you could have said 2.6, for example, could go 4 elections in the past and you still change the figures, how is it that 2 states look like it's going to cost more than 3 states?
Because if 3 states is 18 billion and then 2 states is about 89 billion, I mean.
Like you want to go from the 40 that was given to you or thereabout to 89. So what are you trying to say? I mean, no, the increase of what you're asking for in a lot of things is outrageous. I mean, INEC is outrageous. Let's be realistic here with 2023 and what we'll have for 2024. We are done with the general elections. You just have 2 off-season elections for the year 2024. 89 will be outrageous.
Well, they're
if
talking
you're
about
giving
having by-elections actually filling vacancies that are in
You've been
their
having
region.
by-elections in the past, Celed. I mean, INEC have been having by-elections. They've had by-elections almost through the year. Like, they are functional. They don't just work after 4 years and all of that. INEC have been having by-elections and all of that. What we're trying to look at is the year prior, before 2000. We are looking at this year, all the expenses incurred and the things you are able to get at. The beavers are not going anywhere. You're not going to
Isn't the same beavers.
the same
all over
beavers,
again.
exactly.
Maybe
There
they are printing more PVCs.
I mean, we have already collected PVCs in every state level. I mean, we can't talk, yes, perhaps in Edo State and Ondo,
they'll be registering more members
and all of that. But when you look at it, for me, is the inconsistency in the numbers. I would like to see, okay, if this is what you're saying you have spent for these, this should be lesser. if 3 states got this much, 2 states shouldn't be, fighting with
with the
with
numbers
three
and all of that.
and all of that. And that is where I think that without any sentiment, forget the fact that INEC really disappointed Nigerians, but what they're asking for is a little bit too much. But in the end, it still boils down to our lawmakers, Sela, whether they will eventually give them or not. But in the end, we want to see transparency in INEC, regardless of how much they get, because there's also one place that there's no good enough transparency. And looking at the billions they have consumed for 2023 and even the past elections that we still don't have them audited for even before this year's general election, we just hope that it's more about the accountability rather than just figures that don't even, because if they were audited and the federal government for sure knows this is what INEC goes, I believe there might even be a better allocation, that there won't even be this back and forth in the first place. So I think our team today sells more like transparency.
Honestly, it's transparency, because we're seeing bodies that are refusing to come out to actually state categorically what we need. If INEC is even saying that, I mean, if you don't give us enough allocation, it's going to hamper us from doing the right thing. You ask questions. So money right now is a criteria for you to be transparent. Money now is a criteria for you to do your job well. Because from what you're stating, at the 40 billion naira is only for you to, I think they say, to cover for constitutional responsibility and some other things. So you begin to wonder, I mean, where are we going as a country? Just like we said, already Nigerians are mad, really mad at INEC for what they did. Because believe you me, Nigeria just believe that this election that took place in 2023 was just a charade, nothing more than that. So we are hoping that, just like you said, if only we have bodies that are transparent. I mean, Nigerians can say, you know what, this body demands more money because they have done this, they have done that, they are giving Nigerians reasons to do that. And let's not forget that this money that this ministry and agency are asking, we don't even have the money according to the government. So it's like funding, sourcing for another fund somewhere, more deficit. And so, Rachel, just like I said, I think I'll start shifting the money. It's no longer 30 trillion naira that will be needed. We'll maybe reach 35 because everybody, ministry agency is coming up with one reason or the other why they need more money to actually carry out their responsibility. Well, we are hoping that beyond you requesting for more money, let us see you doing your job.
Yes.
And we're seeing the Ministry of Work threatening directors and all of that, that, you know what, if you don't work, you are out. Aviation is already sweeping a lot of directors. So we are just hoping that we'll see in Nigeria where everybody will be eager to stay back. Because these reasons are enough reasons for people to say, you know what, I just want to leave this country. But there's no problem. There's no place you go that there's no problem. Everywhere there's problem. So we're hoping we'll put our hands together, make Nigeria that great country, and then we'll see ministries and agencies and departments that will work for the betterment of Nigeria eventually.
Yes.
Well, Rachel, thank you for doing this with
You're
me.
welcome, Selen.
Thank you to our viewers and also to our supporters for keeping a date with us on Nigeria Now. Until we come next week, do have a blessed weekend ahead.